The rain hammered the terracotta roof like 1,000 tiny accusations, each drop echoing the frantic beat of my heart. I stood frozen in the doorway of the old hacienda, the school's cultural festival swirling around me in a blur of laughter and flamenco guitars, but all I could see was her, Savannah, slipping through the crowd like a ghost in white silk, her eyes locking onto mine with a desperation that stole my breath. "Scarlett," she whispered, her voice cracking over the music. "I can't do this anymore. Please just hear me out before it's too late." I never imagined a simple end-of-year gathering at the American School of Malaga could unravel everything I thought I knew about myself. At 17, I'd crossed an ocean from Seattle to this sun-baked corner of Spain with my diplomat mom, trading evergreens for olive groves, thinking the biggest drama would be missing my old soccer team. But that night, under the string lights strung like stars across the courtyard, Savannah Hayes crashed into my world like a rogue wave, beautiful, unpredictable, and utterly devastating. She was 18, a senior with sun-kissed blonde hair that fell in effortless waves, blue eyes that held the depth of the Mediterranean, and a laugh that could disarm the sternest teacher. We'd barely spoken before, orbiting the same expat bubble of kids chasing normalcy in a foreign land, but fate, or maybe just bad timing, had other plans. It started with a spilled sangria. I'd been nursing a plastic cup of the stuff, the sweet tart bite, a poor substitute for the freedom I craved after a semester of rigid schedules and whispered rumors about my mom's latest posting. The festival was our one night to breathe. Tables groaning under paella and tapas, students in embroidered dresses twirling to guitar strums, parents chatting in that polished way that screamed, "We're adapting just fine." I was leaning against a stone pillar, half listening to my friend Mia ramble about summer plans back in the States, when Savannah backed into me hard. Crimson liquid splashed across my white blouse, soaking through to my skin like a brand. "Oh God, I'm so sorry." Her voice was all honeyed apology, laced with that faint southern drawl from her Georgia roots. She grabbed napkins from a nearby table, dabbing at my chest with frantic efficiency, her fingers brushing my collarbone in a way that sent an electric jolt straight to my core. Up close, she smelled like jasmine and sea salt, her freckles dusting her nose like scattered constellations. I should have laughed it off, played it cool like the Pacific Northwest girl I was raised to be, stoic, sarcastic, never showing the cracks. But instead I just stared, my throat dry as the Andalusian summer. "It's fine," I managed, my cheeks burning hotter than the lanterns overhead. "Really? Accidents happen." She straightened, those blue eyes crinkling at the corners with a smile that hit me like sunlight after rain. "Still, let me make it up to you. Dance with me. One spin around the floor, and we're even." It wasn't a question, more a dare wrapped in charm, and before I knew it, my hand was in hers, warm, callous from her volunteer shifts at the local animal shelter, pulling me into the throng of dancers. The music shifted to a slower bolero, the kind that clings to your hips and whispers secrets in your ear. Savannah was a natural, her body moving with a grace that belied her volleyball player build. Tall, toned, with curves that the silk dress hugged just right. I was all awkward angles, my soccer legs more suited to sprints than sway, but she led like she'd been born to it, her hand firm on my waist, the other laced through my fingers. "Loosen up, Scarlett," she murmured, her breath warm against my ear. "Spain's too beautiful for stiff shoulders." We talked, or rather, she drew me out like a reluctant tide. She confessed she'd hated the move here 2 years ago, trading Atlanta's humid summers for Malaga's relentless sun, feeling like an outsider in her own skin. "But then I found the beach," she said, spinning me under the lights. "And the stray dogs and kids like us who get what it's like to say goodbye too often." I nodded, spilling my own fragments. The ache of leaving my dad behind in Seattle after the divorce, the way rain here felt foreign without the scent of pine. For the first time since landing in this coastal maze of white buildings and azure skies, I didn't feel like a transplant. I felt seen. By midnight, the crowd had thinned, the air thick with the salt of the nearby sea and the faint smoke from churros fried over open flames. We slipped away to the hacienda's garden, a labyrinth of bougainvillea and lemon trees that glowed under the moon. Savannah plucked a flower, tucking it behind my ear with a touch so gentle it bordered on reverence. "You have the most incredible eyes," she said softly, her gaze tracing my face like she was memorizing it. "Like emeralds in a storm." My heart stuttered. No one had ever looked at me like that. Not the crushes I'd buried in high school hallways back home. Not the fleeting flings with boys who felt like placeholders. This was different. A pull that hummed in my veins, awakening something I'd only half acknowledged in late-night scrolls through forbidden stories online. "Savannah," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the distant waves. "What are we doing?" She leaned in, her lips brushing my forehead in a kiss that was chaste yet charged, like the spark before thunder. "Falling," she replied simply, and in that word the world tilted. The weeks that followed blurred into a secret symphony of stolen moments, each one etching her deeper into my soul. Mornings began with texts, her good morning memes of surfing cats, my replies laced with emojis that hid the butterflies rioting in my stomach. We'd meet at the school's hidden courtyard, tucked behind the library where agave plants shielded us from prying eyes. There, under the shade of jacaranda trees that rained purple blossoms like confetti, we'd share earbuds and playlists, her indie folk anthems clashing sweetly with my grunge relics from Nirvana to Phoebe Bridgers. "You're such a 90s kid trapped in a millennial body," she'd tease, her head on my shoulder as we lounged on a weathered bench, the Mediterranean breeze carrying hints of pine and freedom. I'd counter by stealing her baseball cap, faded red with the Atlanta Braves logo, and wearing it backward, making her laugh until her sides ached. Those laughs were my anchor, pulling me from the isolation of expat life, where every conversation felt like code switching between worlds. But beneath the lightness simmered something profound, a tenderness that unfolded in quiet confessions. One afternoon, as we wandered the narrow alleys of Malaga's old town, past street artists sketching tourists and gelato shops spilling laughter onto the stones, Savannah opened up about her family. Her parents, both Marine vets, had uprooted them here for her dad's posting at the base in Rota. "They love me fierce," she said, linking her arm through mine as we paused at a fountain where children toss coins with wishes. "But they don't get this." She gestured vaguely between us, her voice dropping. "The church back home drilled it into me. Girls like us are just confused phases. But with you, Scarlett, it doesn't feel like a phase. It feels like coming home." I squeezed her hand, my own fears mirroring hers. Mom was progressive on paper, posters of rainbows in our apartment, stories of her college activism, but Spain's Catholic undercurrents and the expat community's conservative whispers made vulnerability feel like a tightrope. Still, in those moments we were brave. We'd sneak to the beach at dusk, toes buried in the cool sand of Playa de la Malagueta, watching freighters, the horizon like distant dreams. There, with the sun dipping into the sea in a blaze of orange and pink, she'd kiss me, soft at first, then deeper, her lips tasting of salt and promise. Not urgent, not demanding, but a slow unraveling of guards, where hands traced collarbones and breaths mingled like prayers. Summer crept in, hot and hazy, amplifying our rhythm. The school year ended with a whimper. Finals buried under beach reeds and gelato runs, but our story crescendoed. Savannah's family had planned a trip to the Sierra Nevada mountains, but she finagled weekends free, claiming volunteer shifts that were really alibis for us. We'd hike the coastal paths near Nerja, where cliffs plunged into turquoise coves, stopping at hidden beaches to swim in waters clear as glass. Floating there, her body silhouetted against the sun-dappled waves, I'd marvel at how she made the world feel infinite. "You're my compass," I told her one evening, as we lay on a blanket watching stars prick the velvet sky. Fireflies, rare migrants from the inland groves, danced around us like living lanterns. She propped on an elbow, her blonde hair a halo in the moonlight, and traced the freckles across my nose. "And you're my North Star, Scarlett. The one thing that doesn't shift." It was in these idols that love took root, not as fireworks but as a steady flame, warming, illuminating, occasionally singeing with the fear of what came next. We'd talk futures. Her dream of veterinary school in California. My vague plans to follow Mom's postings or chase a journalism degree stateside. "We'll make it work," she'd vow, her fingers interlaced with mine. Oceans be damned. I believed her because in her eyes I saw a future where we weren't just surviving. We were thriving, two women carving space in a world that often tried to erase us. Yet cracks formed, subtle as hairline fractures in porcelain. Savannah grew quieter on calls with her parents, her smile strained after family dinners where her mom pressed about settling down with a nice boy. I'd catch her staring at old photos on her phone, high school friends from Georgia, arms around boyfriends, lives unapologetically straight. "It's nothing," she'd brush off, but the shadow lingered. A reminder that our bubble, for all its magic, was fragile. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a switchblade in the ribs. It unfolded on a sweltering July afternoon, the kind where the air shimmers and secrets sweat out. I'd surprised her at the shelter, a bouquet of wild poppies clutched in my hand, orange bursts like her laugh. The place was a cacophony of barks and meows, volunteers bustling with leashes and kibble. I scanned the kennels expecting her amid the chaos, but found her instead in the back office, door ajar. She was there with him, Jake, the lanky surfer kid from our class, all golden tan and easy grins, who'd flirted shamelessly with half the girls at prom. But this wasn't flirtation. Savannah's hand rested on his knee, her body angled toward him in that intimate lean we'd shared 100 times. "I care about you, Jake," she was saying, voice low and laced with something I couldn't place, guilt? Resolve? But it's not. It's not what I thought. My parents, they need this. They need to see me happy, normal. My stomach plummeted, the poppies slipping from numb fingers to scatter like blood on the tile. Normal. The word echoed, a slap across the face of every whispered, "I love you." Every dawn we'd watched together. I backed away, heart hammering, but not before she saw me. Her face draining of color, blue eyes widening in horror. "Scarlet, wait." But I was already gone, fleeing into the blinding sun, the shelter's clamor fading behind me like a bad dream. The betrayal wasn't just the touch. It was the lie she'd lived, the pretense she'd worn like armor, sacrificing us on the altar of approval. Miles blurred under my sneakers as I ran the coastal path, salt wind whipping tears from my eyes, the sea mocking me with its endless churn. Days bled into a haze of silence. My phone stayed dark. No texts, no calls, just the ghost of her jasmine scent on my pillow. Mom noticed, of course, her diplomat's intuition sharp as ever. "Talk to me, kiddo," she'd say over breakfasts of fresh oranges and yogurt, the apartment's balcony overlooking the port where ferries ghosted toward Africa. I'd shrug, mutter about heatstroke, but inside I was unraveling, questioning every touch, every promise. Was it real? Or just a beautiful detour on her road to normal? She found me a week later at our beach, the one with the hidden cove, where waves carved secrets into the rocks. I'd gone there to purge, hurling stones into the surf with curses that dissolved in the roar. The sky had turned bruise purple, thunder rumbling like an omen, when her voice cut through. "Scarlet." I whirled, rain starting to spit from the clouds. She stood at the path's edge, soaked jeans and a hoodie that did nothing to hide her trembling. 18 looked younger then, vulnerable, her blonde hair stringy, freckles stark against pallid skin. "I messed up," she choked out, steps faltering toward me. "Jake, he's my cousin's friend, home for the summer. My parents set it up, a double date, to make me look good for the family barbecue. I went to end it, to tell him I couldn't pretend anymore. But you walked in at the worst second." Lies. Or half-truths which cut deeper. "Why didn't you fight?" I demanded, voice raw as the wind whipped waves. Rain sheeted now, turning sand to mud, but we stood our ground, inches apart like combatants in a storm. For us? For this. I gestured wildly, encompassing the sea, the sky, the ache in my chest. Or was I just the experiment, the thing you hide until it's time to grow up? Her sob broke free, a sound that twisted my gut. "No, God, no. You're everything, Scarlet. The first real thing I've felt since we left Georgia. But they're my family. Dad's deployments, Mom's letters from the war. They've given everything." I thought, if I played along just once, bought time, I could come out on my terms. But seeing you hurt? It's killing me. The rain blurred her features, but not the regret etching lines around her eyes, not the hand she extended, palm up, pleading. Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the chasm between us, betrayal's shadow, love's fragile bridge. I wanted to scream, to shove her into the surf and watch her flail. But deeper beneath the fury was the girl who'd fallen first, the one who'd traced her freckles like maps to treasure. "I can't trust you," I whispered, the words a dam breaking. "Not like this." She nodded, tears carving rivers down her rain-slicked face. "Then let me earn it back. However long it takes." We stood there as the tempest raged, the sea a symphony of fury and forgiveness. No grand gestures, no cinematic embrace. Just two young women, battered by secrets and storms, choosing to wade through the wreckage together. Hours later, as the rain eased to a drizzle and stars pierced the clouds, we walked back arm in arm, Not lovers yet, but survivors. The path ahead was uncertain. Family reckonings, transatlantic goodbyes, the world's unyielding gaze. But in that shared silence we found a humanism deeper than romance. The grace to rebuild, to love not despite flaws but through them. Months later, as my mom's posting whisked us to Lisbon, Savannah drove me to the airport in her beat-up Fiat, the radio humming a soft ballad about roads not taken. We'd clawed our way to something honest, late-night video calls where she came out to her mom over shaky breaths, my own confessions to mom met with fierce hugs and, "I'm proud always." Betrayal's scar lingered, a reminder of vulnerability's cost, but it bound us tighter, turning pain into purpose. At the gate she pressed a conch shell into my hand. Smooth, sea-worn, whispering of Malaga's shores. "For the days it feels too far," she said, her blue eyes steady now, no shadows. Our kiss was brief, salty with goodbyes, but it held the weight of futures intertwined. Vet school visits, journalism gigs in the South, a love that spanned oceans because it had weathered storms. As the plane lifted, Spain shrinking below like a fond memory, I clutched the shell to my chest. That night at the gathering hadn't just changed me, it had awakened me. In a world quick to judge and slow to heal, we'd chosen each other, flaws and all. And in that choice we found not just love, but the quiet revolution of being truly unapologetically seen. The flight to Lisbon was a blur of turbulence and half-remembered dreams, the conch shell a talisman against the what-ifs clawing at my mind. Mom, ever the fixer, had upgraded us to business class, a rare splurge amid the chaos of relocations, but the leather seats felt like cages, trapping me in the echo of Savannah's parting words. "Write the story of us, Scarlett. Make it epic." I pulled out my notebook, the one with dog-eared pages from Malaga musings, and scrawled the first lines, ink smudging under my thumb like tears on a love letter. Landing brought the familiar disorientation. Portugal's azulejo-tiled streets, the tang of salt cod in the air, a new school looming like a fresh slate. But Savannah's absence was a hollow ache, a ghost in every sunset. We texted voraciously at first, her snaps of shelter puppies with captions like, "This one's got your stubborn streak." My replies with blurry photos of Lisbon's trams clanging uphill. Calls stretched into the wee hours, her voice a lifeline across time zones, sharing the mundane miracles. A perfect Paella remake, a thunderstorm that mirrored our first fight. Yet distance sharpened the edges of doubt. In the quiet of our new apartment overlooking the Tagus River, where ferries chugged like steadfast hearts, I'd replay that shelter scene. The hand on his knee, the whispered normal. Was it truly a farce? Or a glimpse of her unraveling resolve? Mom sensed the storm brewing, her own divorce scars making her attuned to heartbreak's subtle tremors. "Love isn't a straight line, Mija," she'd say over chamomile tea on the balcony, the river glittering like fool's gold below. "It's a map full of detours, but the good ones lead you home." She was right in her gentle, infuriating way. My first weeks at the International School of Lisbon were a gauntlet of orientations and icebreakers, faces blending into a polyglot haze of accents from Delhi to Dublin. I threw myself into it, joining the debate club where arguments about climate accords felt safer than dissecting my heart, captaining the girls' soccer team, my cleats pounding turf until exhaustion drowned the longing. But at night, when the city hummed with Fado singers crooning laments of lost loves, Savannah filled the voids. A care package of Georgia pecans and a mixtape labeled, "For the Girl Who Stole My Compass." Her own battles escalated. Letters from home, polite at first, then probing, pushed her toward the precipice. Dad asked about college boyfriends again. She confessed during a pixelated FaceTime. Her dorm room at the local uni a riot of textbooks and volleyball posters. I told him I'm focusing on studies, but it's like walking a razor wire. The betrayal's echo lingered. Trust, once shattered, rebuilt slowly, brick by wary brick. I'd probe gently. "Any more double dates?" And she'd flinch, then laugh it off with a story of walking a limping stray named Luna, her blue eyes softening as she described the dog's tentative trust. By autumn we plotted a reunion, her fall break coinciding with my half-term. She booked a cheap flight to Lisbon, and I mapped a weekend of escapes, picnics in Sintra's misty forests, where medieval castles loomed like fairy tale guardians, sunset sails on the river, wine warming our veins as we toasted to us unbroken. The anticipation was a sweet torment, each day ticking like a countdown to absolution. She arrived on a crisp October Friday, stepping off the plane in jeans and a Braves hoodie, her blonde hair tied back, a duffel slung over one shoulder. The sight of her hit like espresso, sharp, invigorating, flooding me with a rush I'd forgotten. We hugged fiercely in the arrivals hall, her chin resting on my head, my arms wrapping her waist as if to anchor her against the pull of departures. "Missed you," she murmured into my hair. And in that airport clamor of reunions and farewells, it felt like the world narrowed to just us. The weekend unfolded like a dream scripted by romantics. Lazy mornings in my bed, sunlight slanting through shutters as we traded stories over café con leche and pastillas de nata, flaky pastries crumbling like old defenses. We hiked Monsanto's eucalyptus groves, her hand in mine as leaves crunched underfoot, the air thick with eucalypt and earth. "Remember Nurja?" she'd say, pausing to kiss my temple, and I'd nod, pulling her closer, the memory a balm on old wounds. But drama, that uninvited guest, shadowed our idol. On Saturday night, over dinner at a riverside Tosca, candles flickering on checkered cloths, the Tagus lapping like a lullaby, her phone buzzed incessantly. She silenced it twice, but on the third, her face tightened, freckles standing out against flushed cheeks. "It's Mom," she admitted, reluctance etching her voice. "She knows I'm here. Tracked my credit card or something." The call was inevitable. A storm cloud we'd both dreaded. We stepped onto the balcony, the city lights twinkling like distant empathies, and she put it on speaker, bravery or masochism I couldn't tell. Her mother's voice crackled through, warm Georgia lilt edged with steel. "Savannah Grace Hayes, what in heaven's name are you doing gallivanting in Portugal? And with that girl from school, Scarlett, is it? Your father and I saw the photos online, all those beach walks. This phase has gone on long enough." Savannah's grip on the railing whitened her knuckles. "Mom, it's not a phase. Scarlett's. She's my girlfriend. I love her." The words hung, bold and brittle, the first public declaration beyond our bubble. Silence stretched, then her mother's sigh. A sound heavy with generations of unspoken rules. "We raised you better than this, honey. The Bible's clear, and so's the family. Come home. We'll get you help. A counselor in Rhoda. Someone who understands confusion." I reached for Savannah's free hand, squeezing as thunder rumbled distant over the Atlantic. "I'm not confused," she replied, voice steady now, forged in the fire we'd both walked through. "I'm happy. For the first time. And if that's not enough." She trailed off, the unspoken ultimatum slicing the air. The call ended in tears, hers hot and furious, her mother's laced with prayers and pleas. We collapsed onto the balcony floor. Backs against cool tile, the river's murmur a soothing counterpoint. "I did it," she whispered, head on my shoulder, blonde strands tickling my neck. "For us." Pride swelled in my chest, mingling with sorrow for the bridge she'd burned. "You're braver than anyone I know," I said, kissing her forehead, tasting salt. That night, as we lay tangled in sheets scented with her jasmine lotion, love felt less like a flame and more like a hearth, warm, enduring, built to weather winters. She flew home Sunday evening, our goodbye at the gate a mirror of arrivals. Fierce hugs, promises etched in whispers. "Thanksgiving," she vowed. "I'll be in Seattle if you are." But life, that capricious editor, had revisions in store. Winter brought its own tempests. Mom's posting extended unexpectedly, a snag in negotiations with the embassy, and suddenly I was rerouted to D.C. for the holidays, crashing with extended family in a suburb of cookie-cutter lawns and unspoken tensions. Savannah's updates trickled in. Family silences thicker than fog. Her dad's gruff, "We'll talk when you're back." Her mom's forwarded articles on reparative therapy that she deleted unread. Our calls grew strained, love's thread fraying under distance and doubt. Then the second blow, a letter, handwritten on monogrammed stationery, arriving like a grenade in my D.C. mailbox. Savannah's script, once looping and light, now cramped with hesitation. "Scarlett, I can't breathe here. The pressure, it's crushing. Jake's back and Mom keeps pushing. Maybe she's right. Maybe we were a dream, not a destination. I'm sorry. I have to try normal." Betrayal round 2. Familiar as a scar itching under bandages. The words blurred through tears, the conch shell mocking from my nightstand. I didn't call. Words felt futile against such retreat. Instead, I ran, literally pounding D.C. small until my lungs burned. The monument stoic witnesses to my unraveling. Mom found me there at dawn, dew-soaked and shivering. Let her go if she needs to, she advised, arm around my shoulders as the sun rose pink over the reflecting pool. Real love doesn't chain you. It frees you to choose every day. But freedom tasted like ash. Christmas came in a haze of forced cheer, eggnog toasts with aunts who eyed my artistic phase, carols that rang hollow. I wrote back once, brief and broken. If normal's what you want, I won't stand in your way. But know this, you were my everything. Be happy. Then silence, a chasm wider than the Atlantic. Spring thawed the ice but not the hurt. Back in Lisbon I channeled the pain into ink. Starting a blog, anonymous vignettes of expat heartaches, the posts gaining quiet followers who saw echoes of their own hidden loves. Soccer sharpened my edges, debate honed my voice, and slowly, the hollow filled with new rhythms. Friendships forged in late-night study sessions, a crush on a Portuguese poet in lit class that fizzled gently, teaching me desire's impermanence. Savannah resurfaced in May, a hesitant email amid spam. I tried. God, I tried. Dinners with Jake, church picnics, the whole script. But it was a costume, scarlet, itchy, suffocating. I broke it off last week. Told them everything. Dad walked out, Mom cried for days. But I'm free now. And I miss you. Can we talk? My finger hovered over reply, heart a war drum. Forgiveness isn't linear, I knew. It's a choice repeated like mantras. We talked, voices tentative over crackly lines. Rebuilding with questions instead of accusations. Why now? I asked and she answered raw. Because losing you twice would kill me. You're my truth. Summer brought her to Lisbon. Not for a weekend but a month, interning at a local clinic on a shoestring visa. We met at the airport again, wiser now, our hug laced with caution and craving. No grand gestures, just walks along the Alfama's labyrinthine streets, where Father wailed from open windows, mirroring our mended melodies. We talked betrayals, not to wound but to understand. Her fear of abandonment, rooted in her parents' war stories, my terror of invisibility, born of divorces and displacements. One evening, atop São Jorge Castle as the sun bled gold into the river, she knelt, not in proposal but vulnerability, offering a new conch, smaller, etched with our initials. No more hiding, she vowed, blue eyes clear as the sea. I took it, pulling her up into a kiss that tasted of redemption. Slow, deep, a seal on second chances. The month in Lisbon stretched like taffy, sweet, sticky, pulling us into patterns that felt perilously permanent. Savannah's internship was a whirlwind of spays and vaccinations at a riverside clinic. Her days elbow-deep in fur and compassion, evenings ours to claim. We'd cook paella on my tiny stove, experimenting with saffron and shrimp until the apartment filled with laughter and the sizzle of second tries. Nights found us on the balcony, her head in my lap as I read drafts from my blog, her fingers tracing lazy circles on my thigh. Innocent intimacies that spoke louder than lust. But harmony, we've learned, courts conflict. Her parents' radio silence cracked open fissures. A curt email from Dad. Proud of your work ethic, but this lifestyle? Pray on it. A care package from Mom, heavy on self-help books with titles like Finding Peace in Traditional Paths. Savannah wore the weight like a rucksack, her smiles flickering during our rambles through Belem's pastel de nata haunts or boat rides where dolphins arced like joyful affirmations. I feel like I'm on trial, she confessed one dusk, as we sat on the pebble beach at Carcavelos, waves gnawing at our toes. The sky was a watercolor bruise, gulls wheeling overhead. Like loving you makes me the villain in their story. I laced our fingers, sand gritting between. You're the hero in ours. And theirs too, they just don't see the script yet. It was a platitude, but in the saying truth surfaced. Love's drama isn't just ours to bear. It ripples, demanding reckonings from those we hold dear. The climax crested mid-July, a weekend trip to the Algarve's cliffs, Savannah's graduation gift to us, a rental car stuffed with playlists and provisions. The drive south was euphoric. Windows down, wind tousling her blonde waves, my hand on her knee as we sang off-key to Brandy Carlisle. We arrived at a whitewashed villa perched above Praia de Marinha, caves honeycombed into golden rock, the sea a sapphire roar below. That first night, bonfire crackling on the sand, we danced barefoot to a portable speaker. Her in a sundress that fluttered like flags of truce, me in shorts and a tank top salty from the spray. The flames painted her freckles amber, her laughter a melody against the tide. This, she said, spinning me until the world whirled. This is what I fought for. But dawn brought the storm, literal and figurative. A squall rolled in off the Atlantic, trapping us indoors as rain lashed the shutters like accusations. Power flickered, forcing candlelit confessions. She paced the terracotta floors, phone in hand, a voicemail from her mother glowing unread. Play it, I urged, curled on the couch with chamomile steaming between us. No more ghosts. Her mother's voice filled the room, trembling with a vulnerability I'd never imagined. Baby girl, your father's had a heart scare. Nothing major, but it shook us. Made us think about legacies, about what matters. We miss you. And Scarlett, we saw her blog, the one about waves and wonders. It's beautiful. Come home. Let's talk. Really talk. Savannah sank beside me, tears carving paths down her cheeks. A heart attack? Why didn't they say? Guilt crashed over her, waves of what-ifs. Had her coming out stressed him? Was our love the catalyst for crisis? I held her as sobs racked her frame, the rain a relentless percussion to her grief. It's not your fault, I murmured, rocking gently, my own fears bubbling. Losing her to this pull, the gravity of blood ties. Families bend, they don't break. Not if the love's real. But doubt seated. The drive back was somber. The car's hum underscoring silences heavy with hypotheticals. She booked a flight home that night, her duffel repacked in hurried zips. At the airport drop-off under fluorescent harshness, she clung to me. This doesn't change us, she promised, blue eyes stormy. A visit, that's all. Reconnaissance. I nodded, throat tight, waving until her silhouette vanished through security. The weeks that followed were a vigil. Daily texts updating his recovery. Stable, grumpy as ever. Her voicemails laced with exhaustion and hope. Mom hugged me at the gate, she'd whisper. Asked about you. Called you that writer girl. Progress. Yet progress is a trickster. Photos trickled in. Family barbecues where Jake loomed in the background, her arm looped through her dad's in stiff solidarity. My blog entries turned maudlin, readers commenting, hang in there, warrior. But the warrior in me faltered. Mom, watching from her embassy desk, pulled me aside one rainy Lisbon evening. You're grieving a future that might not be, she said, her eyes, green like mine, soft with shared history. But don't let fear write the ending. The breaking point came in August, a call at 3 a.m. my time, her voice shattered glass. They're sending me to conversion camp. Dad's orders. For the family's sake. I fought Scarlett. Screamed. But the doctor's note from his cardiologist says stress contributed. They blame me. Blame us. Rage ignited, hot and holy. No, I growled, bolting upright, the room spinning with adrenaline. You fight this. I'll fly there tomorrow. Stop. Her plea was a gut punch. I can't drag you into this mess. It's toxic. Maybe we pause. Let me fix my side first. Pause. The word was a guillotine, severing the fragile weave we'd spun. Betrayal's third act. Not hers alone, but ours, the universe's cruel intermission. A pause. I echoed, voice cracking. After everything? That's your fix. Silence, then her whisper. I love you too much to destroy you with this. Please. The line went dead, leaving me in the dark with echoes. I didn't sleep, paced instead, the Tagus invisible beyond the window, a black mirror to my turmoil. Dawn found me drafting an email, then deleting it. Packing a bag, then unpacking. Love, I'd learned, isn't possession. It's release, the hardest grace of all. I chose release. Not abandonment, but space. A letter, airmailed to Georgia, pages filled with our story. Not the sanitized version, but the raw epic, from sangria spills to storm-swept beaches. You're my North Star, I wrote, echoing her words. But stars shine brightest alone sometimes. Find your light. I'll be here, charting mine. Her reply came weeks later, postmarked with tear stains. You were right, freedom's in the choosing. I told them no. Walked out with Luna the dog and a one-way ticket to vet school in Berkeley. Mom's calling counselors for herself now. Dad's thawing. And me? I'm coming for you. Our story's just beginning. Fall leaves turned in Lisbon as she landed. Changed, yes. Hair cropped shorter, eyes wiser. A tattoo of a conch on her wrist like a vow in ink. We met at the castle again. the river a ribbon of gold below, and this time the kiss was a homecoming. Fierce, forgiving, forward-looking. The years unfurled like a well-worn map. Berkeley for her, NYU for me. Journalism dreams chasing headlines of hope, from pride marches to policy shifts. Visits bridged the miles. Thanksgivings in Georgia, where her parents' table slowly welcomed me. Toasts awkward at first, then warm. Summers in Spain revisiting Malaga's ghosts, turning them to guides. Betrayals became backstory. Conflicts the forge that tempered us. We married on a Seattle beach. Rain holding off for once. Mom officiating, Savannah's family in the front row. Jake a distant footnote. Vows exchanged under evergreens. Through storms and silences, I choose you. Today at 25, with a rescue pup named Compass at our feet and a shared apartment overlooking San Francisco Bay, I look back on that school gathering not as a rupture, but a revelation. In a world of scripts and judgments, we wrote our own dramatic yes, laced with drama's sharp edges, but rich with emotion's depth, romance's glow, and humanity's quiet triumph. Love, it turns out, isn't the absence of pain. It's the courage to embrace it, together, and emerge whole.